Hello, and welcome back to the channel. As you might have guessed by the title of the video, this week we're going to be talking about the Smith & Wesson Model 36. The Model 36 was developed after World War II as a response to the Cult Detective Special, their snub-nose 38 Special revolver. That was developed in 1927 ish, and Smith and Wesson took until about 1948 ish to realize they needed something to compete with that was smaller than the K frame Model 10 or pre Model 10 or hand ejector, one of whatever, however many names that particular gun has had. So the Smith and Wesson's offering at the time was the I-frame. This was developed in 1896 and made for 32 caliber, which at the time was the popular gun to have, be it pocket revolvers or pocket autos. 32 caliber up until World War II was the 9mm Glock of its day. It was the concealed carry gun to have. But the I-frame could not handle 38 Special. As we discussed last week, 38 Long Colt versus 38 Special, there's a significant difference in pressure, and the 32 is even weaker than the 38 Long Colt. So, the I-frame couldn't handle 38 Special, but it was the first modern revolver in that it featured a swing out cylinder versus a top brake. It still had your 6 shots of 32 Smith & Wesson long. And that and several other features they're still in use today, hence why it's referred to as the first modern revolver. The J frame is essentially a thick I frame. They took the I frame and beefed it up to accommodate the 38 Special. What they did was they reduced it to a 5-shot cylinder. I don't have a Colt Detective Special, but you can see the Colt Detective Special held 6 rounds, so it was about the same size cylinder as this pre-Model 10. You'll notice how much thinner the J-frame's 5-shot cylinder is. Much easier to carry in a pocket or in an early inside the waistband holster. Though most of these guns back then were just dropped in a pocket. You'd load it up, drop it in your pocket, go about your day. Around about 1950, the new Smith & Wesson offering was presented to the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Their annual conference was, and I believe still is, the largest police education and technology expo in the world. That if you've got a new bit of law enforcement gadget, tech, whatever, this is the place to show it off. And they took a vote. I was unable to find what the other options were that were voted on, but what won for a name for this new design is the Chiefs Special. So in 1957, like we discussed last week, Smith & Wesson went to their numbering system where this became the Model 10 and this became the Model 36. The name Chief Special was it did continue to be used, but I believe that was exclusive to the 3-inch barrel models versus these 2-inch. In 1951, the Model 37 Airweight was introduced. It's the exact same gun, but it uses an aluminum frame and originally an aluminum cylinder. Uh, some of you may have watched Forgotten Weapons video on the Colt Air Service, which I believe Smith & Wesson also had an offering for that. And there was a problem with the aluminum cylinders. They can't handle the pressure. So that did not last very long. It was gotten rid of in favor of steel cylinders and made for a much lighter gun. That said, this is still a pretty light gun. I might be biased because I carry a 1911 regularly. Say what you want, I like it. That's why I carry it. I wore this around just so I could speak from actually wearing it and not assumptions. And I would be lying if I said I didn't for a minute forget that I had it on. That is how light this is in comparison to a 1911 or even the 4-inch Model 10. This particular gun is very special to me. It was a gift from my wife for our 10-year anniversary. As far as I can figure, Smith & Wesson's serial numbers are kind of a bear to translate for dating, because they would use the same serial numbers in different models before, I believe, 1957, the same time that they introduced the numbering system for models. So it's a little difficult to date Smith & Wesson revolvers. This, I believe, was made in either late 1966 or early 1967. I have the original box for it, which is really cool. And in the box are some things you don't see terribly often, notably the factory wax paper. This is not one thing that shows up in every... The boxes themselves are not terribly difficult to get, but the wax paper seems to be much more difficult. But I also have the original warranty card with a date of purchase of 7/19/1967. So as far as I can figure, this gun was not made too long before that. And I was able to look up and find a 1967 catalog. In 1967, this gun, catalog advertised price was $71.50, with the nickel version being $78.50. Which I just thought that was kind of neat, considering what these sell for now. Obviously, inflation, obviously. It's still neat to see what the original price was. Now, the Model 36, because it's so short, it bucks a bit when you're shooting. You feel it a lot more when you fire this than when you fire this. Obviously, this has a lot more weight to handle the 38 Special. This bucks a little bit, but you can still shoot fast and accurate with it, with shots easily A-zone on an IPSC target at 15 or 20 yards. You're not going to do that fast, and unless you practice like Jerry Michalik, you're not going to do that double action. But still, very, very neat little gun. I absolutely would and occasionally do carry this. This is more as either a backup gun for your traditional New York reload, or if I'm feeling lazy that day, I will simply drop it in my jacket pocket. Before anyone loses their mind about things pulling the trigger, on these old double actions, the long, drawn-out trigger pull, empty, is the safety. that trigger pull is about a full inch, and it's heavy. This is not going to accidentally go off. If 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 this goes off, you have deliberately pulled the trigger. Is it accidental? No. Negligent? Yes. In single action, though, that is another story entirely. But who would carry this single action in their pocket? So whatever. That's how I tend to carry this. Very, very nice little gun. Very handy, and I personally think still completely relevant in today's carry culture, I guess you could say. Most situations, people have this I don't know, fantasy about the apocalypse, the end of the world, getting into gun battles and all that. This gun is more than sufficient for almost any scenario that you might actually find yourself in that doesn't require some serious mental gymnastics. And that's about that. I recently got from Brownells, as we're still with the Bureau of Propaganda, and a lot of stuff on this channel is going to come from Brownells. Not necessarily the old guns I'm talking about, but things I like to use with them. And here we've got a Safariland Comp 1 speed loader, which is kind of neat. I'd used the Comp 3 before. A friend of mine had a few, and I got one just to kind of play with. It's designed for competition, but when you compare it to something like a 1911 magazine, you can absolutely conceal this. It's just not terribly convenient. At the same time, concealment generally isn't. But this little fella, there's no wiggle to the cartridges at all, and it's as easy as just pushing the body of the loader down, and in they go. I'm going to go a little more in depth on this and the other speed loader, as well as some others I've gotten from Brownells, in another video. Because we're not just talking about guns here. We're talking about supporting accessories for guns and things like that. So that's pretty much what I have for today for the Model 36. This probably will be discussed again after I can get some more range time on it. I just got some better ammo than what I had been using. Proper 158 grain semi-wad cutters, which for the time that this was made, as well as this, that was your pretty standard police load. Was a 158 grain lead semi-wad cutter. So I'm trying to stick with that for these two guns. And we're gonna see how that goes when I have a chance to get these to the range and not dedicate all the time I have to the SA-35. So that's that. I hope you have a great week, and we will hopefully see you next week. If you like what you see, please leave a comment, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Take it easy.